Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of Hiring and Inspiring. Today's guest is maybe one of the most anticipated guests I've ever had on the show. It's a very old and dear friend of mine. Chris Magill joins me on the show. Now, Chris is, as I say, an old friend of mine. We met, I can't believe it, probably over 10 years ago now, at university back in our uni days. Spent a bit of time abroad together, on exchange. Stayed close for the years that have passed since, and since then, McGill has gone on to build himself a really successful career in the cybersecurity space. His background in channel marketing and partnerships. And I know he's been super successful. He's recently made a career change, moved to a new company. So I'm really looking forward to catching up with him, shooting the shit, catching up on his new role, and finding out a bit how he's been getting on most recently. So, McGill, with that introduction, mate, welcome to the show. How are you getting on?
Cheers, Joe. Yeah, doing well, mate. I'm not going to call you Joe. That's stupid. It's Cutler. You'll always be Cutler. Hiring and smart. Bloody hell. But yeah, I'm doing well, mate. It's been an interesting start and a half. Been here about three months now since the new kind of roles come into play. But yeah, as you say,
Yeah.
I've built myself up really from scratch in terms of the business kind of piece, and it's been a hell of a ride, if I'm honest, alongside still trying to do my all on the social kind of side of things, which is it's always a balance and act. You are very much well aware with your own activities and whatnot. But doing well and glad to be here, mate.
Good to hear, mate. Because when we last caught up, it was actually when I was back in the UK in London. At the time, it was sort of maybe September, October time. You were kind of in between things. You were, I think, on the cusp of securing this new role with Esentire. Leaving your previous role with AlertLogic, where I know you were for a long time. So it's been maybe for maybe 3, 4, 5 months since then. How would you sort of summarize how you've been getting on so far? How's it all been going?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, but class, in all honesty, mate. Completely what I needed at the time. From a personal standpoint, it's been, as I say, just whirlwind, really. I've been trying to have a lot less beers than the first half of last year, if I'm honest, and a lot more kind of getting myself in the gym and keeping myself in good working order. And since I've joined this new company, I've stayed within the same industry. It's still cybersecurity. It's still in the area of cybersecurity, which I've been working in for, as you say now, about 8 years or so. So quite similar on that kind of front. But the new company I've joined, really impressed with it, really liking what they do. It's a great solution. Got good people around me as well, and that's important. We're not the biggest team in the world, but everyone kind of works for each other. It's a great team ethic, and the company itself, is doing really well. It's been named a Phoenix organization, so it's valued at over $1 billion. It's on its way up, and we're still achieving year growth for the company itself. Since I've been here, I think it was their record quarter for Q3, and for the company this year, record year. So at a time where a lot of people are being laid off in the market, in the cybersecurity space, been lucky enough to land on my feet, really, and can't ask for anything more in the space, really. So no, it's been class, to be fair. Yeah.
Love to hear that, mate. This isn't the direction I was going to take it, but I just thought I'd pick up on something you said. You've been, I know you've been doing a bit of dry Jan recently. You said about how you've been off the beers there a little bit more of a health kick, in the gym a bit more. Now I know you. I know you love a beer. How's that lifestyle change? How have you found that? And is that that's been tied to the new job?
Yeah, definitely. I want to hit the ground running and stuff. Something that's been really kind of key to what I'd say my success is work ethic. And if you're not feeling top of the range, you're not gonna perform, right? It's how we I know at university days we didn't really kind of take that approach, but with age, the hangovers get a hell of a lot worse. And but no, you need focus in your life and stuff, and I feel like that's been like a really nice driver. I've had some family issues that have come up in the past year or stuff, so it was also to do with that as well, kind of get myself in a bit of work in order to make sure I can kind of cope with everything going on outside. But it's been an interesting one. It's been a different kind of way of approaching it, and I say I'm kind of doing that approach, but December, Christ, I'm talking every couple of days. that dry January was absolutely needed. Everyone's calling me a melt for doing it, but Jesus, if I didn't, I wouldn't be. I would be here right now, but I wouldn't be looking like I do right now.
I don't doubt it. Well, mate, that's good to hear. I think that sort of the clear head is so important, especially like to get to be at the top of your game. You can't be going out drinking it all the time, especially in the work environment. Let's get back into the role. So your job title with the new company Esentire, field channel manager, like day to day. Just tell me a bit about maybe what are your summer responsibilities? What is that sort of job looking like?
Yeah, sure. So essentially I'm here to help partners take our solution and sell it to their addressable market for a commission, and they do that via discounts that we provide to our partners in order for them to make a profit on it, but also realise the kind of partnership benefits as well, getting things like MDF from us and building like a go-to-market plan to be able to drive solid business going forward. And like in terms of the role, like day to day, I'm working with so many different types of people. That's one of the key benefits of the role, I'd say. I'm working with people in sales, I'm working with people in marketing, I'm working with leadership, technical people as well. You name it, I'm covering it. And I need to make myself valuable to them, essentially, because we're in a very competitive, some may call it saturated market. So there's always one of our competitors on the door, knocking at the door, just trying to get in where we may make a slip up or something. So I'm always having to make myself valuable to all these different types of people, and I do that in different ways, right? So the sales teams, it's about enablement predominantly and providing them with campaigns and incentives to be able to want to work with us and see opportunities within their existing customer base where it's not too much of like I'd say an increase in their workload or something. It's to try and make it as easy for them as possible for them to be able to help them hit their number. From a leadership standpoint, I'd say it's making sure that they look good to their managers as well, by saying, look, I brought on this new offering. They're doing really well. We've sold a couple of deals and we're looking to do more of this stuff going forward. So it's about hitting their KPIs. Then with like marketing, for instance, it's how we can make it as easier for them to tie what we're doing into things that they're already taking to market. So prime example, a lot of organizations are going to cloud at the moment. And cloud's one of the vectors which a lot of cybersecurity breaches are happening, right? It's not everyone's used to it yet. There's a lot of education out there. A lot of people don't have the time to take the medicine and learn about it, essentially. So we're going after that opportunity a lot of the time. We're helping them understand what cybersecurity means to them and their customers to make it easier for them to build it as their value propositions to take their customers and win business that they otherwise wouldn't be going for. So like on a day-to-day basis, as I say, loads of different things, loads of different types of people I'm engaging with, loads of different types of projects. And it's all the way from planning, execution and evaluation to day-to-day in the trenches, getting on the phones, emailing, and really just building that connection with our partners' businesses and trying to get as close to them as possible and ultimately get as close to their customers as possible as well. And it's a lot of hard work, but there are some great perks to it. I get to travel with the job, get to visit partners. I've been to Amsterdam a couple of times since I've been here, visiting a couple of partners. Haven't gone too far or heavy on them trips yet. One of them was in the Heineken brewery, which was which was a lot of fun. Getting to meet new people, both internal and external to my business. It's great. It's a great role for anyone who doesn't like to sit in their arse all day and do the same monotonous thing all the time. But at the same time, when something does happen and they need to respond to it in an efficient kind of way and find a positive in where there could be a bit of negativity, doing that.
Yeah.
Doing it in the easiest, most efficient, well, not easiest, but most efficient kind of way for all parties.
Yeah. So good, man. And for someone who's listening, maybe who doesn't necessarily have too much understanding of, when you talk about working with partners and the channel and that kind of stuff in your world, your cybersecurity tech, what does that actually mean? Who actually are the sort of partners, and how does that sort of model sort of fit together?
So there are different types of partnerships, right? So like a lot of I like to look at it in two different ways: funded partnerships and partnerships where you're both putting in the same amount of effort to be able to get an outcome. Ultimately, it's a give and get relationship, so both sides of the partnership prosper. Now, I obviously work in the cybersecurity and the IT space. A lot of these kind of things they're using partnerships to be able to address new customers. Like that would be, for instance, from a vendor standpoint, that's like why we partner with organizations like value-added resellers. So one of my partners, for instance, Softcat, they've got thousands of customers, but they've got a lot of salespeople aligned to these things as well. And as one man, how am I going to get through everyone? So you need to be able to focus in different areas. But ultimately, they're trying to sell something new into one of their customers in order to hit their benefit of hitting their sales targets. And for me, it gives me a better chance of being able to do it instead of being able to create a solution internally, which will take 18 months to try and sell it themselves. So a lot, like I'd say, it's always about need. You could actually, I don't want to go too deep into sales methodology or something, but we could align it to something like BANT, to be fair, right? So but if an organization doesn't have a budget to build something internally, like they look for a partner to be able to get them to that goal faster. On the authority piece, like for a partnership to close, they need the right authority between their company and our company in order to make a successful partnership. Because if it's, for instance, one man, a salesperson, and trying to onboard a partner, they might sell one deal, but it will go nowhere. So it's not a benefit for both parties. It's a one-off transaction. It's not really a partnership. On the need front, as I say, they're looking to do something as soon as possible, and be able to fulfill that demand. But at the same time, there's a timeline. If there's a need for something, they want to get it done quickly and stuff, right? So they'll look at onboarding a partner to be able to get to that end outcome as quickly as possible. So, like, I wanted to tie it quickly back to that because that's how I kind of see that thing. But I really see it as like what I'm doing and partnerships or like breeding good partnerships as like you can even put it to like a relationship or something, right? For someone who doesn't really understand it, like, and that would like for forming a good partnership or something. So, like the discovery phase.
Are you about to drop relationship advice here,
mate? I for the least relationship savvy person in the world, I call myself one of the best relationship managers in channel game, mate. I've got all the theories and no practice.
Hit me,
apart from the industry. So discovery, right? That's essentially your Tinder out there. You're going through all the different companies and trying to find the right one on the surface of things, and it's probably more about luck than anything at that point, right? But then you get into the details of it. From like you're trying to understand if technically it's a fit. You meet common goals. There's a shared culture. Okay, that might progress into something like a relationship or something at that point, right? And then if everything works well from that point on, trust is developed. If you're following processes, like for instance, I'd say a few things which I spoke to previously, actually, like with salespeople, if you're constantly feeding them with the right information to be able to go about finding new customers and maybe bringing some to the table yourself, you're going to build trust. If you run a marketing campaign which works out really successfully and helps the marketing person within the partner really prove to their boss that this is a great way to go, like that's going to build trust on that side as well. And to leadership, if you're constantly selling, they're going to advocate it as well. And what does that build? Trust equals a good partnership, but also long-term prospect, which can convert to marriage. Bosh, that's Jenga, mate. I've just, that's partnerships in a nutshell. Trust, consistency, and then at the same time, just doing all the right things by your partner, being your internal advocate for the partner to make sure that they're represented well internally, and at the same time they're doing the best thing for you on their side to be able to do the right things by you to help this partnership go forward.
Now that whole partnership space and everything you've just touched upon there, you're clearly very passionate about it, mate. You're very you clearly know your stuff. You've been working in it for a long time. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to inflate your ego a little bit and pat yourself on the back a touch. Obviously, you've stuck around doing that and done well in this whole partnership space for a long time. What would you say that as things that you've done that have allowed you to have success in this industry? Maybe this is someone who's thinking about getting into your particular space and thinking, what do I need to do to achieve success? What advice would you give that person? What would you say you've done well that has allowed you to thrive in this particular space?
Sound good question. I'm going to go with the easy one because everyone says in every industry in the world, including football as well, work hard. that is number one.
Yeah,
right there. You can be awful at your role, but as long as you're doing the right things by the company and you're putting everything into it, like no one can say you're not trying. And at that point, like it's on the company to be able to take you to correct what you're doing because you're showing everything, you're giving everything at that point. But if you don't work hard, like that's the one thing which you can actually bring to the table: a bit of tenacity, a bit of pull up your sleeves, as you will, and whatnot. And that was a big thing for me. Like early days, I'll talk to it a little bit later, but I was awful at the start. I was shocking at what I did. I came into industry and I didn't know. Like we went to Coventry, didn't we? And obviously Groningen, which I'm sure we'll come on to a bit later as well. But I understood market and theory, had never applied it to anything in my life, was expecting, David Acker's theories of brand awareness and all these kind of things. Oh, it'd be great. And in theory, it's great. But when you walk into work on day one and you're like, right, what are you going to do then? You're kind of like, I don't know, I thought I'd be told what to do. It's not like that. In some jobs it might be, but not in mine. So you've got to just work hard and just show you're in it for the long haul. Another thing on that as well, I was told in my early days, after about 3 months of being in my role in the original channel marketing role that I was in, and I was almost given an ultimatum for like, look, do you want to be here or not? And at the start, I wasn't working that hard. I'll put my hands up and say to that, but it was a frank conversation, and I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, I can improve a lot here. And I started staying late. I started giving it my all. I started asking to attend sessions that I didn't need to be a part of and stuff. So, as long as you're putting in the hard yards, you'll eventually get to the point where you learn everything that you need to know in order to excel in what you're doing. So I'd say work hard's the central kind of component of it. A few other things come into that as well. Be open to learning. As I mentioned before, I used to put myself in situations to essentially just there was no need for me to be there. I wasn't kind of conducting a deal, or I wasn't talking a customer through how they should set up a solution in their architecture or something like that. But I'd sit in on those sessions to try and begin to comprehend it, and it takes time, but it works, you know. I'd say networking as well. It's obviously what the sales game is all about. You know that as much as anyone. It's who you know a lot of the time, as much as if you're good at something. If people trust you at the end of the day, they're going to put you in front of people that they trust as well, and that's how business works. So I'd definitely say that networking piece is massive as well. An interesting one that I'd like to put out there as well, it's under promise, over deliver. There's nothing like someone out there who talks a good game, and then when it comes to when it comes to game time, we've all seen it, haven't we? We've all seen it on the football pitch. We've all seen it on a night out. We've all seen it in the workplace and whatnot. Be that guy who stands out and kind of, wow, I didn't know he was capable of that. So I like those unassuming kind of people. So I'd say that they're like the kind of things. But then just going back to like normal kind of be yourself, but just be nice, be reliable. Like they're the main kind of things for me. And you can't go too far wrong. They're the things which I'd say which I've tried to kind of bring into my workings from day one, and it's gone all right.
I think the main thing I'm taking from that is ownership. Like you took just complete ownership on your career to drive it forward yourself. Like there wasn't the handouts. No one was going to hold your hand through it. No, as you said on day one, no one really sort of told you what to do. You took it on yourself 6 months in or whatever. It was like, right, only me is going to. No one can really do this for me. I've got to do this myself. And I think that's so relatable to pretty much any job, any career. Like it's on you to drive your career. Really, your company can give you the tools, but it's only on you to make it happen. And it sounds like that's massive in your role and your career so far.
Yeah, I'd say so, mate. And I think even recently with that whole finding a new job and while I had kind of piece, right? I got to 7.5 years at AlertLogic that obviously went across to Fortra, and I was working for the sake of working. I'd lost all passion in what I was doing. I know I haven't read too far from where I was before in terms of the type of role that I'm doing in the industry I'm in. But I got off my arse and I was essentially working 2 jobs at the end of the day. I was working my day job and then using my whole evenings to go about finding a new one. And it is like I'd put that into a bit of advice, if I'm honest, for someone like if it's not working for you, do something about it. Like it might be talking to your boss about if you're not happy about something, but if you've been there a long time, it's the grass is greener much of the time, not always. Like we've all heard of those those situations where something something bad happens in the early days of people moving to a new role and whatnot. But you got to take control, as you say. Ownership's everything.
And just quickly on the sort of the cyber industry, the cybersecurity space. Someone said to me the other day, it's sort of the biggest thing or the most prevalent thing that no one's talking about, or we should all be talking about it more than we are. What is your sort of take on that? Just how sort of obviously I know you're in it, but like just how prevalent is the whole sort of cybersecurity space going to become?
Like as you say, it is there, and like I think everyone understands how important and prevalent it has potential to be, and in many walks of life is. But it is that kind of elephant in the room conversation to many organisations a lot of time. Like I've had conversations with many salespeople over the year within our partners internal to our company and you'd be shocked about the amount of companies like high street, mid-market to enterprise companies who really don't take it as seriously as you want them to when they're protecting your data. Like, there's, and I think a lot of the time, especially in the business world, and if we're talking about like internal to organizations, it comes down to ROI a lot of the time. It's the stuff that no one sees ultimately in the end of the day. And a lot of businesses don't really put a focus on it until something bad happens. And that is inevitably going to happen with most organizations with some sort of web presence out there. And they might not know about it yet. But there's plenty of breaches that have happened where, for instance, an attacker's been in an environment for a year. They've been kind of hiding themselves from the rest of the company, from the IT security team. And then they'll ransomware an entire estate and cost a company thousands, millions in many cases, and kill that company ultimately. And it's happening a lot, but and it's not about small organizations or size of organizations. Sometimes it'll be a smaller organization that's breached to be able to get into a larger company, and we call that like a third party breach or supply chain breach and those kind of things. So like organizations are beginning to take more notice. There's still a lot more that they can do, but like I think with the fact you're seeing things like GDPR, NIS2 is another one which is coming out in Europe at the moment, where I'd say like regulators are trying to do all they can to provide better kind of guidance for organizations. But the real need and the real challenge for organizations is the lack of skills in cybersecurity. And it's why companies like Esentire, like my company now, exist, because a lot of companies don't have the internal capabilities or understanding to be able to do these things themselves. They need to outsource it. They need to work with who they trust. Who do they trust? Often their IT partner or their supplier of IT, who work with a network of partners like us or vendors like us to be able to say, okay, we'd advise you do this for that for that. But there's 3,000 different security companies out there all saying basically the same thing at the moment. That gets tough. But yeah, back to the question on how prevalent it's getting. I think there was a TV show or something that was made maybe a year or two ago around cybersecurity and like breaches and all this kind of thing. But I think you'll begin to see more of that, because it is becoming, in my opinion, a bit of that kind of, if there is something that is sexy in IT, it's probably that. Try to protect orgs from the bad guys, essentially, and it's that kind of physical combative kind of area of the industry. So it's definitely more to come, and in terms of prevalence, but the importance of it, everyone's addressing it now because budgets are going up for it as well.
Yeah. Did you see that thing with the I'm not sure how long ago it was, the Bangladesh bank was like moments or one little slice of luck away from getting breached and billions being taken from it. And it was like, it didn't happen. It was but just by luck, it didn't happen. It was like, if that had happened, it would have been world news. And then that would have been the sort of the moment where cyber was like huge.
Yeah.
But that's, it didn't happen, but it sort of feel like it could have very nearly happened.
Yeah.
It's just sort of waiting for something like that for it to be, and it will happen at some point, is what I'm hearing.
That's right, mate. Like, there's so many organizations that won't push the button on plan more investment into it until the worst happens. Yeah. And I think when something like that happens, there was one in UK, right, with I think it was Travelex. They were struggling throughout COVID anyway, but then they got ransomware during, and they ended up going into administration, closing all of their stores on the high street. And they put a lot of that down to what happened with their IT estate with this. So it's literally getting to a point where it can cripple a business to the extent of this is contributing towards administration. So when it gets to that kind of point, you can't really ignore it anymore, especially if it's happening in your industry. And like a lot of these companies network with each other to get ideas of best practices and things like that, right? I've seen recently in the housing association sector, which was breached quite a couple of organizations were hit last year. I think it made the news. I don't want to mention them in case not, but and from that point, a lot of organizations are kind of pulling together, understanding, okay, that worked for you, okay, let's do the same thing. But then everyone in the industry, on my side of things, in the vendor world, kind of catches wind of it, and they're like, right, everyone's going for the same bit of business and stuff, and it gets so competitive at that time. And that's when you really need, for instance, good partners and good relationships to be able to call upon, to be able to get you as close to that customer as possible and be able to make a sale.
Mate, we've talked about what you're doing currently in the new role. I want to go back in time. You touched upon it a couple of times. Your previous previous 7 years, nearly, I think it was, with your previous company, AlertLogic.
Mm-hmm.
How I know it was you're there for a long time. How do you sort of reflect on that period of your career, those 7 years with that business?
Yeah, I'd say very positively, to be fair. It didn't, it ended a bit sourly, if I'm honest, just with what happened in the final year since the takeover. I'll come on to that in a second, but like they gave me an opportunity when, as I say, I was awful. I thought I was a dog's bollocks getting my first in whatever mad degree that we did. I'm not going to mention it. But yeah, I started my career in partner marketing, right? And like it was an interesting one for me because like I not only had I never worked in the marketing field before, I'd never worked in an office-based role. I didn't know anything about IT, and I didn't know anything about security. So it was literally struggle on struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle.
Yeah.
It's like to try and find your feet in that environment's tough. But I had good people around me there, like good mates, good mentors, who really guided me in the right way and shaped me into the professional I am today in many respects. But yeah, towards the end, yeah, it got a bit like the culture changed. In my opinion, people were let go of, people left the business for other reasons, and yeah, it was just a bit kind of off towards the end. And that's the thing, like that's what I'd say. Before that time, I was always quite content with it because I went from channel marketing into partner development and then partner development into channel management. So I made different kind of progress up the job ladder, but I also moved from marketing to sales, for instance. So it allowed me to do a lot of things. And that all started from this one interview that I had with my first boss, Nicky Wallace, who's one of the biggest mentors to me. Yeah, kind of took it from there. But no, it was unreal. I met so many good people as well during that time. It was yeah, a really positive place. Loved it, and can't say anything bad about it other than like the final year, if I'm honest. So yeah, all good.
I'm always interested in like the topic of mentors. You mentioned one individual there. What made that particular person, such an important mentor to you?
Yeah, good question. So I always put it down to like that thing that I mentioned before about that ultimatum piece, right? And it wasn't only about that. Like she was just great with me. It was like in the early days, like really helpful and stuff. And then there was a week off, I believe. She went on holiday, and I was honestly doing the bare minimum in this week. Like I was breezing through. She came back. We had a 1-to-1 meeting, and like I said, yeah, I've done this, I've done that, and apparently she got wind that I was like just being a bit loud in the office, getting a bit too big for my boots and stuff, and like, I needed it, but she put me in my place proper, and it was like it was great and it was needed. And since then, I was literally like, I had the ultimatum kind of thing: do you want in or out? And I was like, absolutely. And after that, I stayed in late, like for probably the next month or so, up until about 9 till 7 every day. It was when I was in Guildford this was, and just put my all into it. Because honestly, after 3 months, I still couldn't talk around the value proposition of our business because I still didn't know IT or security. And working in marketing, if you don't know your value proposition or how to talk to it, you're fucked. So like that was basically the biggest rocket up my ass kind of moment, which but it wasn't only that. She was just good with everything. Like she allowed me to kind of, if I was intrigued about something or wanted to learn about different areas of the business, she'd be right behind me and let me do that and stuff and just explore new things and whatnot. And ultimately, she was one of the biggest supporters of me going across the sales when I made that jump. And along with my other boss as well, Natalie Ely. On the sales side as well, I had so many good contacts, salespeople, to name a plenty. I actually live with one of them today at the moment, B. Rye, shout out. And I've got Paul Reeves, who was like my first kind of partner manager, and I just looked up to him so much because he was just like rock every meeting. He was from Reading, but he had a Scottish accent. I was taking the mick out of him from day one, and we just got on like quite well from that point. He liked his football, he liked his drinks, and yeah, we got on well. And that's what really kind of got me into thinking that partner management game looks pretty good. And like he helped me get into that place. I'd say another one for me was there was Alyssa Fox as well, who was like partner programs director at my company. She was my boss after Nikki and Natalie, and she like just amazing. She managed me incredibly well from, for instance, the US. To do that is tough. You only speak to each other on chat or like once a week check-ins and things like that, but she did everything she needed by me to be able to help me in my career and be able to take me forward. And then finally, lastly, I'd probably say Omar Akhtar, who was my most recent channel director at AlertLogic, who just brilliant guy. Seen it all in the industry, has been in cybersecurity sales and IT sales for 20, 25 years or something. Learned so much from him, how to conduct myself, how to just exist in the space and do well in the space. And so from a mentor standpoint, not only have I worked with many good people, I've worked with people in different roles where they've been my boss in these different roles. So I've learned so closely to them and been kind of mentored on how to react to different things. Because like the tiniest email back in the day would get me het up. Still does to a certain extent, but I don't go really like in for a response. I can take my medicine and think and things like that and think about things in the eyes of other people rather than just mine. So that's just one of many different things that I've learned. But great place for mentors. It's been a hell of a ride in that aspect.
So since you started, then something I always think about is it's funny because we started our professional careers at the same time. I think January 2016. Both had our first sort of professional corporate job. We both came in no experience really with anything, just a bit of life experience from being 21, 22-year-olds. How do you think you have developed as a let's start professionally since then, over 8 years ago now?
Yeah, good question. I think I thought I'd suit business, if I'm honest, like due to the work ethic side of things. So like development on that side, it's only got better because like I knew, like, well, going back to those first early days, I after going in, I thought work ethic will get me through. Eventually did, but Jesus Christ, I was so bad at the start. And I tell you one big thing which I've really always had, like since I've been in industry, is imposter syndrome. Like it's the worst. I think I've listened to a couple of yours where another couple of people have mentioned it as well, and it's a huge thing in the sales game. But ultimately, like when you're in the partner field and stuff, unless someone's been in the industry and they've been like within a partner, for instance, if they've been selling your solution before, albeit they should be better at you than what you do, but ultimately, if you think about it in the way that they're selling about 20, 25 of the different products, they're probably not an expert on every single one of them. And if you know 10% of what you should do about your company and the way your solution works, for instance, or the way to conduct yourself in your role, you know more than them in those instances. So like when you think about it in that kind of way, that imposter syndrome can go out. But yeah, I still get it today, especially when I'm talking to a to a like business leader or something like that, who you think, shit, I still don't know technical stuff. you start really like, yeah, okay, let's move on to the commercial discussion. So I'd say overcoming that imposter syndrome piece is probably one of the biggest development. Yeah, that was a big one for me. I'd say also facing your fears and stuff is another big one. Like I was always quite shy, timid at uni and stuff, and I think you can speak for me when I talk to that in my personal life, especially on the on the relationship front. Let's put it. I'd be the first to try I'd be the first to shy away those engagements. I flipping out. I'll tell you what, when there's money on the line, and that's one of the reasons why, like, I got in sales, if I'm honest. When there's money on the line, you've got to do something like for like, well, to earn your living, right? I conduct presentations every day now. Still hate them, but I'm getting better at them. I can talk my way around it, and as long as you know your stuff, like that. I still don't like being put in those situations, right? But as long as you're doing, as long as you're putting what you've learned and your experience and just putting your best self forward in order to be able to go for and try and beat your fears. Like no one can say a bad word about you. You might not have done it well, but you've done something you wouldn't normally do. So that's a good score on anyone's point. They're the main couple, I'd say. I know they're quite closely related, but yeah, development and things like that, I think it's quite hard to critique. I'd throw it back on you, if I'm honest. If there's anything which you which you think if there's anything which you think I've developed with since you knew me at uni.
I think I was going to go. If I was to sort of predict what you were going to say, I would say it's that piece about the imposter syndrome and kind of facing your fears. I think yourself as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old when you first started out, you maybe shied away from some of those things. You didn't always go all in. I feel like now you just back yourself, whatever, and you're now like, even if I mess it up, it doesn't matter because it's another rep to practice, and I'll be better for it. Yeah. Whereas before you might have shied away from it. That if I was going to predict what you would have said there, I would have probably said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
What about sorry.
No, all good, mate. All good.
I was going to say, next one for me is sort of a bit more personal, and it's more about if I think about the bulk of our friendship, it's from a time together. In person, it's more our early 20s. We're now, I don't want to remind us, but we're 30, 31, early 30s now. How do you sort of think? Because we stay in touch. We've managed to catch up, over the years. But obviously, I don't see you as much as we did in that period. How do you think you've changed as a person since then? It doesn't have to be work related. This is more just life.
It's a loaded question because I think it gives many opportunities for me to compromise myself, that one. We've had some good times, haven't we? I'd say, how many countries we're seeing? 8, 10?
We've done a few, yeah.
Not over yet, eh?
Yeah.
And I think. So, what is it? How much about what's changed?
As a person, yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. I'd say I look at things more rationally now. Like, I was a very kind of immediate, like, quite reactive, on edge type person sometimes back at uni. Yeah. Now I think about everything like in perspective, really. Well, I try to as much as I can based on experiences of what I've had, and that's everything. I think experience, it really is. Like, if without the experiences which we've had both in the personal or professional domains, like you're not the person you are, right? You'd react to any given situation a different way if you haven't come across it before. So I'd say that's definitely one of the sides to me which has kind of changed a bit. I'm a bit more of a rational kind of thinker and whatnot, but I'm probably a bit more wound up than I used to be as well. I used to be pretty chill. I can get pretty stressed now. I'm getting a few greys and whatnot. It's why I keep a close blade one back inside these days, so you can't see it as strongly. But they're still
chop it off.
Yeah, they're still coming through the beard. I often give it a cheeky little pluck time, but no, I definitely say that's another one. Like I could a bit more snappy sometimes, especially when Cam's being an arsehole in the chat. Mode of reference for everyone who's listening, that's one of our mates from Groningen, and he's a Liverpool fan and never shuts up about him. So you can sense why that is the case.
Shout out the Sunday Club group chat.
But yeah, so pretty wound up. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, if I'm honest, these days as well.
Yeah, okay.
I told you before coming on, I've made a couple of notes before coming on here, and I'm kind of treating it, want to do it all right. But even for every call that I ever work and stuff these days, don't go as far as like a script or whatnot, but I've always got my notes there of points I want to refer to or get answers from, but like my goals of the call and whatnot. And that's basically for everyone. I know what I'm going to talk to, but like when you're in the heat at the moment, you can easily forget stuff. I hate, for instance, only clarifying things on phone call because like it like you've never got that trail of evidence back and stuff. So I'd go to the extent of any conversation I have, I'll ping an email, make sure that it's record on there, and even if someone doesn't respond to it that way, I've done my bit. There you go. Like, this didn't stop because of me. So I'd say another one of those things. Like I've seen things backfire, and again, I'd say that's an experience thing. Like someone might promise them and they didn't follow through with it, and like you're not going to say, well, he said it. Like who's going to prove otherwise, right? So you always need to kind of look out for yourself. Say as well, I'm a big fan of email. Actually, to that point, more so than I ever was growing up. I couldn't even write an email when I was growing up, but then I went for an essay stage. Still do that sometimes. When you need to get a point across, context is everything, and I abide by that. But no, it's so yeah, another one of that. But again, I'm going to put that back to you. How have I changed?
No, I've got one. I think one thing I was thinking about, and we kind of spoke about earlier on, you know, that whole ownership piece. I think back when, you know, we spent a lot of time together, you know, 10 years ago, a lot of the time you would blame the world for your problems. You would sort of, it was someone else's fault or it was whatever. You would be frustrated at the world, and then I think over the time you've learned to sort of take. It's actually I'm half the time it's the problem. I'm the problem. I need to take responsibility for this, whatever that that the situation could be. I think that's definitely something you've improved upon.
I think
I've developed on.
Yeah, I think one of the main things for me on that front has been like I barely ever look at, for instance, the news anymore because like I think that like and. That whole blame culture and things like that, I think, comes from sources like that. Everything's negative these days, and like you see, like I keep talking about footballers, but half my life's watching football a bit of the time, right? So, got to draw the parallels. But everything that happens, like anything bad that happens, always seems to originate from someone who's out of the know. It's just conjecture or something like that, and that. Now I look back on it, those kind of blaming assumptions and stuff might have come from like how much I was kind of watching TV and stuff in the past, or like I was probably seeing it day to day, or like before social media, like kind of seeing how the world worked in the playground and whatnot, and seeing like, okay, that's how it works. So like if you're about to get in trouble, say, well, it was him, it wasn't me. Screw that. I'm pretty good with that. I weren't exactly a teacher's pet back in the day. It might come across that way, but I found out quite early it's who you know in those circumstances. So they'd let me get away with absolute murder in classes and whatnot, and like just for like being all right. Like, right, so how's it going? And then they'd let you eat in class or something. Great. So, yeah, that rings true big time. Good call.
Yeah. How do you reflect on that period of our life when we were at uni together? Even the exchange we did abroad. I know it was a long time ago now, but for me, it's something I think about it all the time. To be honest, it's something I often go back and think with some happy memories and some good times we had. How do you sort of look back on that period?
Well, I wouldn't be sat here right now without it, and I wouldn't be sat on this call if it weren't for it either. So, best time in the world. Learned fuck all, but Days of my life, 100%. It's just
Yeah.
some incredible people, got into some ridiculous circumstances, shared
Yeah.
incredible experiences and stuff like that as well. Got drunk a lot, partied a lot. We went on some awesome trips and stuff as well, didn't we? During
Yeah.
that year abroad, the year abroad itself was just unreal. Like we mentioned, shout out Sunday Club, a little bit earlier, but wouldn't have met those boys. Wouldn't have met the French lot, the American guys, the loud Brazilians who were quality. To be fair, like everyone, the French lads. And Spanish, of course, and at uni. Fucking Friars Road. What? 23 spewers. That's take me back. No, it was so good. Like as I say, learnt theory of some stuff when like in actual uni, but it builds you, don't it? Really, and it was just class. You'd 100% agree, right?
Yeah, 100%, mate. It's not necessarily the stuff that I learned in class. It's more about the stuff that sort of learn about yourself the first time going away from home and living abroad like we did. And it was, for me, it was like the sort of catalyst for doing a few things outside of my comfort zone to actually, I can actually do something with my life. I'm not just gonna stay here and do whatever. It was as we've touched on, we're on this call. It's the friendships you made. It's the memories you make. So yeah, completely agree.
I'll tell you one thing you can't do though, and that is what was that shop where you had to pick up the bumblebee from that time? I watched that video the other day, and Jesus Christ.
Oh, Mamma Mia.
Get that on your TikTok channel.
Good idea, man. Good idea.
If anyone sees this, it's going to make Mr. Joe Cutler here famous because it's one of the funniest things, and it features the bad man here, like just at the start, and then Christ Almighty, Joe Cutler takes this.
All right, let's get on. Yeah, good idea, man.
Mama Mini's. What was it? Like a little bike thing carrying a sofa on top of it. And I don't know. Are you bringing it up now, or do you want to post it or something?
Let's just say my life flashed before my eyes for a few minutes. Crashing a bike, riding carrying a sofa. But one of the many highlights, or maybe lowlights from that time.
Wasn't it?
It's a couple of days in, man. Yeah.
When I was still thinking, who's this weird lanky guy who I've been sat in the same lessons for the last 2 years and always thought, I'm better than him.
That's what you thought?
Yeah. Oh, mate.
Unbelievable. Mate, we've spoken about the past, what you're doing currently. What about the future? What can I expect from you in the next couple of years?
Oh, a couple of years. Don't know about that, but this weekend I'm going to watch the Almighty Magpies versus Luton Town at St James's Park with my boy Ian Mackay, which I cannot wait for. So thinking that a bit further outside of that would be sick. But guys, I want to continue in the role as I think I've got marketing background, I've got partner development background, proved myself as a channel manager, and then see what potential opportunities arise from that point. To be fair, that'll be 10 years in the channel by that point in partnerships, and that'll be a breadth of kind of understanding of how to do channel marketing, how to do channel sales, and how to kind of manage successful partnerships if they're successful. Plenty of them have been, but you often get the odd one which doesn't go as according to plan and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. But obviously there's still a lot of things I need to learn. Like finances aren't my strong point by any means, and if you want to be a director in channel, you need to be able to coax up new sales strategies that align with budgets and that align with targets and those kind of things. So that's something that I definitely need to improve on in terms of my acumen. But yeah, from an experience standpoint, my kind of perception of how channels work and building out partnerships. I think for people, someone of my age, you won't come across it too often. I think I've got quite a breadth of experience behind me to be able to put me in a good standing for roles of that ilk going forward. But social life, just keep in touch with everyone. I could do with a house and a dog as well, so I need to make sure the job goes all right to be able to afford.
Yeah, I was going to ask, can I expect you be? I was going to ask, can I expect you, settling down anytime soon? You happy in London? What's going on, mate?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm enjoying London. I'm enjoying living with my housemate Ryan at the moment. Been here for 18 months again to this time since coming back from COVID when I was in Peterborough. I really don't know. Like, I'm always tempted to look across to Australia and join you over there, or no, I know another few members of the group are obviously looking and stuff, and I'm obviously like, oh God, everyone, it feels like everyone's leaving, but then again, I've got incredible bunch of mates back at home who I grew up with, and and I'm not sure if they're going to be moving anywhere anytime soon, so it could be a case of going back there. So at the moment, really don't have a specific item on the agenda for where I'm going to go to, but I think I could do with my own property at that point, and like I've been saving plenty last bit of time, especially when I was living at home over COVID, so it can happen when I want to. It's just about when. But as I say, I want that dog piece sorted sometime in the near future as well.
Right.
Mum and Dad never Dad kind of did, I think, but Mum was always a bit, well, when you go to university or leave home, who's going to look after the damn thing? Which is a fair enough point, to be honest. But they're kind of they're
hard to say.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, but it's going to be an interesting couple of years or beyond that, mate. Yeah, for sure.
And I got one final one for you.
Oh, here we go.
It's my typical closing question on the show. The idea of success, what does that mean to Chris Magill?
Oh, am I allowed to say something like really corny, like the pursuit of happiness, spelt with a Y instead of an I?
The floor's yours.
No, I'd say happiness and financial stability, if I'm honest. That's really fucking boring. But financial stability paves the way for happiness as long as you keep that work-life balance ticking over and stuff as well. So I'd say that, to be fair. And just rocking out with the dudes as much as possible, having a good time. I want to still be able to to like go to football. I want to continue playing music with my mates back home whenever I can. I want to be able to go for beers whenever I want and stuff. Obviously, with a family, that won't exactly be as easy, but that hasn't happened yet, so I'm still enjoying myself. But yeah, happiness is definitely the main thing for me, and it's becoming tougher and tougher. I know this is a pretty drawn out kind of thing, but with everything going on in the world at the moment, it can be a pretty depressing place a lot of the time. And you just got to do you. You got to be selfish about it a bit at the time, just to make sure you're doing right by yourself. It starts with yourself, and then if you're in a good place, everyone else around you will be in a better one too.
Drop the mic.
I was going to say, that was unreal, wasn't it? Was that clap?
Chris Magill, Mag Dog, Maggers, Captain Insano, thank you very much for joining me on the show today. I really enjoyed that conversation. I got a lot from that personally. I'm sure anyone listening will hopefully enjoy that as well. I appreciate it as a friend, and I appreciate you coming on and doing this. So you've been doing some great things, and I'm sure that will continue long into the future. So thank you again, mate, and I'll talk to you soon.
Joey C, Mr. Cutler, Sea Dog, the Blade. How many more? Not the McCain chip. That was me, wasn't it? Cheers for having me, mate. It's been great to be on, and hold tight. Your crowd who are watching. Take care.